Hello and welcome to Break Check. It is a Rocket League esports podcast. We talk all about the regionals that go on and the pro scene and everything like that. So welcome in. Hello everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're just going to get straight to it. As we can see, the first topic is closed qualifiers. Talk about that for just a moment. This was obviously an important closed qualifier as it was the last chance for these teams to make regionals. For many of these teams, it's the last opportunity for their season. They're not going to make the major. They're not going to make worlds. So this was obviously quite important for them. With that being said, I think we had a pretty strong showing in closed quals. We did have some teams pop in there that had maybe struggled a little bit in recent times. Nonetheless, we had randoms, Accrue, Pittsburgh Knights, Stromboli, which is previously Charlotte Phoenix. We had Ghost Gaming qualifying, Sonics, Shopify Rebellion, who has had a tough time as of late. And then Rogue as well, making it in the last game. They went to game 5, so Rogue had a tough time. They definitely did not perform their best in close calls. We do have Xset missing out. Obviously, that's a bummer. Once again, we have Torrent missing out. That's a bummer as well, especially on the back of that previous really impressive performance in the second regional of the split. If we look down here, Accrue and Randoms, they take down all of their opponents, 3-0, clean performance from them. And quality opponents as well. We got Rebellion, Ghost, and PK. Accrue took down all of them who all three qualified. Randoms taking down Accelerate, Stromboli, and Rogue. Randoms looked absolutely incredible in the closed qual. We got PK, Stromboli, and Ghost Gaming going 3-1. Pittsburgh Knights only losing to Accrue. Stromboli only losing to Randoms. Those are probably the two best performing teams in this closed qual, in my opinion. And then Ghost only dropping to Accrue as well. And then the final crew coming through in the 5th round is Rebellion, Sonics, and Rebellion. Their only losses are Accrue and Stromboli. Once again, 2 qualifying teams. Sonics only losing to Rogue and PK. Again, 2 qualifying teams. And then Rogue, one more time, only losing 2 qualifying teams. So pretty good performances here from everybody in the top 8. We had Nefarious, Xset, Torrent, Accelerate, All Mid, Step Bros, Limitless, and Scuzz missing out. And like I said, I'm sure that was a little bit frustrating as it was the final chance for some of these teams to an event and, just play at the professional level before this season is over. Now they're going to have to go into grind mode, off-season mode, and we'll see what is in store for the next season. So the first thing we want to look at is NRG. They missed the spring major in London. The most important thing here, I think, with this is just the streak that Garrett was on of going to every single RLCS LAN has now ended. And, it was sad. It was obviously sad. They certainly did not deserve to be there. They were not performing up to their standards, nor up to the standards of the other 5 teams that are going to represent North America. So, there's no excuses to be made. Fortunately for them, they have performed so well in the first 2 splits of the season that they don't have to worry too much, and they will be, at the very least, at the wildcard stage of the Worlds event, and then hopefully in the main event as well. So we look here, and they finally did get that first round win. They take Accrue down in Game 5. They run into Faze, and this is the first time they've lost to Faze in a while. Unfortunate for them, but it was eventually going to happen. They're not gonna never lose to Faze. Faze is obviously a quality team, and it's no surprise that they lost in this event because Faze was playing incredibly well. We'll just go ahead and continue to follow NRG just for their story. And by the way, just to kind of set the stage here, NRG basically, they had to make the finals, and they really needed to win the event if they wanted to go ahead and clinch. Top 3, top 4, they would have needed some help from some other teams. So obviously a lot of pressure on. They fall to lowers. And, their first round in lowers, they fall to lowers round 2 after getting that first round win. And they end up being reverse swept by Complexity. And look, Complexity is a good team. But, with NRG going up 2-0 in the series, you felt like, okay, maybe NRG can turn this around. They get a pretty good win against Complexity, and then we'll see if they can continue rolling forward through the lower bracket. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. Complexity turned things on, turned it around real quick, and get that reverse sweep. Hats off to Complexity. They played pretty well, but unfortunate for NRG. That is going to end their split and end their hopes for the major. They'll just have to, they're going to have to get in grind mode and work hard and get ready for Worlds. That's really all they can do. Complexity. While we're talking about Complexity, let's go ahead and get on their path. They end up dropping their first series to Sonics, and Sonics is a team that they have beaten more times than not, but they end up losing here, falling to lowers. They take down Shopify Rebellion, and this was tight. This was very tight. Rebellion played them well. They looked pretty good in this main event, but Complexity got that Game 5 win, clutching up. Again, once once again, they get the Game 5 win here, a reverse sweep against NRG. That's big time. They fall down here, or not fall down here, but they go to the next round, and they take down Oxygen in a 3-1 fashion, looking pretty good. And then they run into Space Station. And the top 4 in North America, right now, they are just a cut above the rest. We'll talk about Envy a little bit more in just a moment because they're also attending the London Major. So they're in that top 5 for North America. But right now, we got Faze, G2, Space Station, and V1. And they are, like I said, they're just a cut above the rest. So Complexity, they run into a hot Space Station and they lose 4-0. They get swept. And we got up here. We can take a glance at Envy real quick. Envy ended up same type of thing happens to Envy. They run into G2 and they get beat 4-1. So, anyways, Complexity, their hopes and dreams snuffed out by Space Station. Space Station gets that revenge from the Fall Major where Complexity ended up knocking Space Station out in that tiebreaker matchup. So I'm sure that victory was sweet when they take the 4-0 sweep over Complexity. Now, we talk about Faze. Wow. I mean, if you didn't get to watch Faze this weekend, go watch them. They looked incredible. Very team-oriented. Probably the best that this iteration of Faze has looked in a long time, or maybe ever. They take down Pittsburgh Knights 3-1. They take down NRG 3-1. They take down G2 in Game 7. And this is something that hasn't happened very often. G2 has not been knocked to lowers this split. They've only lost 1 match to Space Station in a finals. And then after that bracket reset, they went ahead and took the dub over Space Station. So FaZe Clan doing what no one else has been able to do. And then they move forward and they take down version 1 in a 4-0 sweep. So like I said, FaZe Clan really looked incredible. G2 gets knocked to lowers. They make the run. They take down Envy. They take down Space Station. They take down V1. They make it back to the finals. And they actually end up taking down FaZe in the first series. They look really dominant too. We got a couple of overtimes, and they're 1 or 2 goal games here. But G2 was just on a mission there in that first set of the finals. And then G2 take them to Game 7. But FaZe, they finally clutch. This is the win has been escaping them for quite some time. They've been very, very consistent. They perform top 4 almost every event. I think they've missed out 1 time in the top 4 since picking up Sypical. So their floor has been raised quite a bit, and they were just hunting that final dub, that final victory, and now they've gotten one here in the 3rd and final regional of the spring split. Now, with that being said, we're going to talk about the major team. Let me just go ahead and pull up our rankings right here. We got G2 is going to be the 1 seed. FaZe is going to be the 2 seed. V1 is going to be the 3 seed. SSG, the 4 seed. And then Envy is grabbing that 5th seed, that 5th spot for North America. There's been quite a bit of discussion about essentially this 5th spot. And, I think what I said earlier is really just what it is. We can talk about, and I've even said this on my stream, that I think NRG would probably fare better internationally than Envy. But the bottom line is you got to get the results. I think some people even think the Complexity would probably fare better internationally than Envy. But again, the bottom line is you got to get those results. You got to get those wins. You got to beat the teams that you should beat. And NRG failed to do that this split. They lost to a few bubble teams. They put themselves in situations that are, just really tough for them to climb out of, especially in a double elim format. And Complexity, while they did look stronger here in this final, they still, in my opinion, did not look as good as they did in the fall relative to the rest of their competition, relative to their peers. And while Envy did not take a series off of the top 4, what they did do was they did beat these teams around their level and the teams beneath them. So you got to give the praise to Envy. They obviously deserve that 5th spot. But my personal opinion is that I think when we get to the international stage, when we get to London, I think these 4 teams are going to perform well. I think they're going to fare well against opponents from the other regions. It's a double elim format, so it's going to be very cutthroat. It's going to be very intense, a lot of pressure, and it's a tough environment to conduct yourself in. But what I will say is we've seen time and time again, FaZe very consistent. We see a team like V1 and we see a team like Space Station. Both of those teams kind of elevate their gameplay when they get to that high stakes, high intensity environment. And G2 has just been very, very consistent. They've been performing at a very high level, and they've shown that they have what it takes to win that major, as they did in the winter major. Envy, I am not as confident about. I think that they are the weakest of the teams here from NA. Like I said, they haven't really gotten a win over the other 4 throughout the split. And I'm not super confident about them moving into that London major. I would love to be proved wrong. I want all these teams to perform well, whether they're from NA or not. But that is just kind of my thoughts towards it. And, we'll see how they fare. What I will say, though, is I think North America as a whole, I think, has improved. Obviously, we've got a pretty lackluster performance here from NRG, who we have come to expect excellence from, and they have fallen off. We had a couple of poor performances from Ghost in Regional 2 and 3, but I think Ghosts have shown what they can accomplish. A little bit weaker Oxygen, in my opinion, a little bit stronger Rogue, and then Complexity and Envy, while not super impressive, a little bit stronger. And what I will say is the top 4 in North America look the strongest that I think they have all season. So NA is kind of in a weird place. We got a couple of teams performing a little bit lackluster, a little bit under or subpar, but we got a few that are performing extremely well. They look like they are in form, and that is these 4 right here, which is all that really matters right now, because that's where we're headed. We're headed to the major, and those top 5 teams are the only ones going to be competing. So with that being said, we had a really short and sweet episode here today. That's going to do it for the Break Check podcast. I appreciate you all hanging out, and we will catch you next time. Peace.